Hi everybody, welcome back to another question for your GCSE paper on Elizabeth. Today we are looking at the question, why was the attack on Cadiz a significant event in weakening Philip's plan for the invasion of England? So this would be your 12-mark question. If I remember rightly, it's the third question that you get in your exam. I'm going to do a little check here just to make sure, yes, so it would be the third question that you get in your exam paper. So this question, you can split it into 3 steps. You can think of each step as a separate paragraph. So when you're thinking about this 12 marker, you might want to be thinking, I want to have 3 paragraphs. However, you can split these steps up into more than 1 paragraph should you wish to. So our step 1 here, begin by placing the key issue into context, providing some background detail. Now, I've got a little quote here because I think in my experience, a lot of pupils begin to get a little bit confused by what I mean by context. And it's a nice little quote which says, without context, a piece of information is just a dot. It floats in your brain with a lot of other dots and doesn't mean a darn thing. Knowledge is information in context, connecting the dots. So what I mean by place this key issue into context is I mean tell me why the attack on Cadiz happened, tell me what the Armada is, tell me what Philip's plan is for invading England, tell me what the surrounding information is, so that it is proof to the examiner that you know this didn't just randomly happen in isolation. It happened as a series of events. Then you move on to step 2. This is where you continue to develop the context. You need to provide specific detail. So you need to go into that granular information and make links to the key issue, attempting some judgment. That key issue is, was it a significant event in weakening Philip's plan? So this is where you need to make that link back. Was it significant to weakening Philip? So you'd give a specific detail and then you'd say to yourself, does this prove that it was significant for weakening Philip's plan? Then you'd make another point. Does this prove that it was significant in weakening Philip's plan? You need to keep asking yourself that question. And ultimately, by asking yourself that question, is this evidence? Is this supporting that idea? You are beginning to make a judgment because you are beginning to say, you know, whether or not the key piece of information that you have about this attack on Cadiz was significant in weakening Philip's plans for the invasion of England. Well, I've given you a little diagram here for this because it's kind of like connecting the dots. And what I like about this diagram is it really kind of proves what you're needing to do. So you'd have a piece of information and then you want to try and connect it to another piece of information. Also, what I like about this diagram is that you have some lines that are like the same colour. That's because these might be the same connection, but of different points. And so we're getting that kind of multi-layered view. And then in step 3, this is like your conclusion. You need to conclude with a reasoned and well-supported judgment upon the key issue. This is where you're reiterating that argument that you've been making, but you do it in a nice, neat summary. So we're on to step 1, okay? So we want to begin by placing the key issue into context, and we want to provide some background detail. So Britain was an island. Let's start from the beginning. Britain's an island that has got tensions with Spain. Spain is Catholic, England is Protestant under Elizabeth. Additionally, we've already had, and this is actually me jumping to this bottom point here, but it's relevant to this point here in talking about why there's tensions. Drake, the privateer, had been responsible for raiding Spanish settlements in South America. This had enraged Philip, who asked for Francis Drake to be executed. And instead of executing Francis Drake, Elizabeth actually gives him a knighthood because she's so happy that this kind of revenue is coming into England from these raidings of Spanish settlements. Now, this isn't the only cause of the Armada, but it's definitely a triggering cause. It's definitely one of the causes related to it. Now, I wouldn't want you to do more than 2 or 3 sentences on that, Where I'd want you to say is just things like, you know that there's tensions between England and Spain. Francis Drake had been responsible for raiding Spanish settlements that had exacerbated these tensions, and Spain wanted to go to war with England. But with Britain being an island, that's supposed to say being an island, sorry about the spelling mistake there, the only way Philip could attack was by sea. So this is you like setting the scene. Also in this paragraph, you'd want to talk about how Philip has this powerful army in the Netherlands, but the problem he faces is trying to transfer that army across the English Channel. So in order to do that, he would need to have boats, ships to transport that powerful army. Philip feels fairly confident that if that army lands in England, they should be victorious. However, the issue is, how is he going to get that army to England? Now, Cadiz is a major Spanish harbour, and by 1587, its amassing of the Armada was nearing completion. So by 1587, it's looking to Philip like the Spanish army is going to be nearly able to cross the ocean, to cross the English Channel. Sorry, not the ocean, the English Channel. And then on the 20th of April, Drake had sailed a group of English warships into the harbour and attacked the Spanish fleet. So what you're doing in that first paragraph, that first step, is you're setting the scene. You are proving to the examiner that you can place the attack on Cadiz as an event. You are placing it as an event that is significant within the Armada. You're also indicating to the examiner, you know why the Armada was coming about. You only need very short sentences on that just to prove you know why the tensions were there, that Drake has something to do with this, that it's about the Spanish transporting their army. So you're just basically indicating to the examiner that you know where Cadiz sits within the bigger picture of the Armada. Then what you need to do in step 2 is you need to think about the points that you are going to make that are specific details. Now in this diagram, I have got 3 main points that we want to make. So one of our points is that Drake claimed to destroy 37 ships. A reporter sent to Philip reported 24. So there's a discrepancy there, but what we can say with confidence is that between 20 to 30 ships were destroyed. You can even say 25 to 35 ships were destroyed. Another significant point is that Drake burnt important timber supplies, sorry about the spelling mistake, particularly seasoned wood, waiting to be used to construct storage barrels. These would have stored supplies for the Armada. This is again an important specific detail. Our third specific detail is that new barrels were made of new wood, which was still damp, which rotted and ruined the food and soured the water on board the ships. So your second paragraph wants to have these 3 points in them, but it's not enough just to write these 3 points, because what it's asking us to do is to make links to the key issues. So we've got to think. Our question is asking, is it a significant event in weakening Philip's plans? So what I've done is I've created some links here to demonstrate what we would need to do, so that we've got our 3 key pieces of information that we want to write about, but we need to talk about the links. So for all 3 of them, one of the links is that this delays the attack for a year. What this means is that the English have got an opportunity to improve their defences, and it gives them time to get themselves in order. This is a very big deal and is a significant impact and does weaken Philip's plans, because it means that they're not able to attack with an element of surprise or to attack quickly. It means that England has that chance to defend itself. So that would be one of the links that you would like to make in this section. That's to do with all 3. You can then link these first 2 points, so about Drake destroying the ships and about destroying the supplies. And a link that I've put here is that this creates a problem for how to transport that powerful army from the Netherlands that we spoke about in point 1. Now, the reason this creates a problem is that ships are destroyed, they have to be remade. This limits the amount of the army that can be transported. But also the fact that the timber supplies have been burnt means that there's a reduction in the amount of barrels that can be used. Also, the new barrels are less good. This means that there's a reduction in resources that can be transported on these ships, meaning less people from the army. So this is having a problem. This is a significant event that has weakened Philips's plans because it's impacted how he's going to transport that army from the Netherlands. We can then make a connection between these last 2 points, this middle point and this bottom point. So these barrels have been destroyed by Drake, and so have the older timber supplies, the seasoned wood. So this means that in order to kind of increase the amount of people that they can transport, they want to try and increase the amount of resources that they can use as a transport as well. So they want to create more barrels, but the problem is these new barrels are made of new wood, which is still damp. That means that there's issues with these barrels. They contaminate the food, they break, they lose the resources. So the connection here is that this loss of resources has a direct consequence that it increases the amount of death from contaminated food and starvation from the Armada soldiers. So what this means is that this is another proof that there's a significant event in weakening Philips's plans because there is a direct impact that is long lasting. It's not just that 1 year delay. It impacts those that are on the ships going across the English channels because they're going to run out of resources. That will mean that there's a higher mortality rate due to starvation, due to contamination, due to sickness because of this, which makes the impact of the Spanish Armada less, meaning they're less likely to be victorious. So then we move on to our final step. I've highlighted here, significant event. That's what we're wanting to prove. Is this a significant event? And we've kind of come up with 3 main links and points to say yes, it was. And our 3 main links and points was it furthered the problem of how to transport powerful army from the Netherlands. This weakens their attack. It delayed the attack for a year, gave the English time to prepare the defence. Again, that weakens their plans. And there's a loss of resources, increased casualties of Spanish Armada due to contaminated food and starvation. That weakens Philips's plans. So we can quite confidently state at the end of this essay that the attack on Cadiz was a significant event in weakening Philips's plans for the invasion of England.